think most people have at least a vague idea, perhaps not a very detailed idea. There's the joke, Ypsilanti came here to open a restaurant. No one actually believes that. At least nobody should believe that, because of course the man the city is named after had nothing to do with its founding, and in fact was never even in North America.
It was named after a general around the time of the Civil War. His name was General Ypsilanti. That was his last name. He fought for the Union side in the Civil War, yes.
Well, I thought it dealt with Indian heritage. I'm not real sure, because like Ypsi High School are the Braves, I believe, and back when I was at Eastern, it was the Hurons.
Demetrius, I don't know. I don't know where he's from, but he discovered Ypsilanti.
Ypsilanti means something, I think, but I don't know what it means.
The territory of Michigan was established 1805, and that's when the first government appointed by Washington arrived. That would have been General William Hall, who was a hero of the Revolution, and Judge Woodward, who was the federal court judge. And that was a three-man court. He was a personal friend of Thomas Jefferson. He was called a brilliant eccentric. His legal opinions are said to show an almost genius understanding of law and justice. His behavior was odd. This is a man who literally sat in a chair in the rain to take a bath. And he was never seen without his faithful companion, a bottle of brandy, but never the same bottle of brandy. He speculated in land. This was how most people made, if they made fortunes, this is how they made their fortune, in buying large tracts of land and then selling it piece by piece to others. What happened here was that the original three Frenchmen who operated the fur trading post, they moved on, but their families sold what were called the French claims to three men, Judge Woodward, John Stewart, and William Harwood. And Judge Woodward apparently was the principal investor. He remained in Detroit, but Stewart and Harwood lived in this area, at least at first. And it was Harwood and Stewart who plotted with a surveyor of the original village, called Woodruff's Drove, about a mile to the south of the present city, now pretty much under Ford Lake. It was never very successful, first of all, because it was not a village or community as we think of it, but it was an area of farms in a floodplain, which causes problems every spring when it floods. After the opening of the Chicago Road, now Michigan Avenue, that village died out, and those inhabitants who were left moved to the new settlement.
Well, Ypsilanti is named after a famous Greek general. The details of his successful endeavors I don't know, but historians would know locally.
And of course, at that time, they needed to pick a name. Most cities and communities in Michigan are named for communities in the east, primarily New York State. Because that's where the people came from, they named it after their original homes. Now, one of the three men, Harwood, I think, wanted to name it Palmyra after his home in New York State. Stewart, in recognition of the power of the Huron River, which supplied the hydropower to power the mills in this area, wanted to call it Waterville. The story is a delegation went to Detroit to meet with Judge Woodward, whose word was literally law, and he was the principal investor. And they suggested either Palmyra or Waterville to him. He said, no, let's name it Ypsilanti, after the Greek general Demetrius Ypsilantis, who was a hero of the Greek War for Independence, then being waged in Greece against the Ottoman Empire, modern Turkey. Demetrius was being called the George Washington of the Greek War for Independence. He and 300 of his men held off something like 6,000 Turkish soldiers in a citadel for several days until their supplies ran out, and Demetrius was able to get his people out of the citadel one night without the loss of a single man.
There are two other towns named Ypsilanti.
Okay.
One's in North Dakota, and I don't recall where the other is.
Who is Ypsilanti? You have any idea? Okay, you think he's an Indian. Okay, you're dead wrong, but that's a good guess.
In the 1880s, the post office here in Ypsilanti, it's Ypsilanti, not Ypsilanti, because in the Greek, the Y is pronounced like an I. The post office published a list in the local newspaper of some 385 misspellings of the city name that they had collected over the years, my personal favorite being Slippery Shanty.